What's going on, everyone? Jeff here with Water Jug Fitness, and thank you for tuning in to my bulking meal plan. 4,400 calories a day for less than $70 a week. What? That's awesome. This was a highly requested meal plan, and I'm excited to bring it to you. If you haven't watched part 1, which is the grocery list, be sure to check that out. You can find a link in the description. If you want a printout of this full meal plan, you can find a link in the description to that, so check it out. And here's a little preview of the PDF for the meal plan, so check this out. But this is part 2, which is prep and pack, so it's gonna cover cooking and packaging all of the meals. I'm not gonna waste any more time because this video is long enough, and let's just get into it. Now that we have all the groceries, let's just go over them really quick. We have 3 packages of the 93.7 ground turkey. 1, 2, 3. We have a gallon of water. 5 cans of the Chunk Light tuna. We have a bag of the classic fruit medley. A little over 5 pounds of chicken. 2 packages of the everything bagels. 1, 2. Bag of walnuts. 5 packages of the broccoli cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have 1 container of cream cheese. 1 container of low-fat cottage cheese. Then I have a small container of the large curd. I have a 12-ounce container of the olive oil mayo. 2 dozen eggs, Frank's Red Hot, a 8.5 ounce extra virgin olive oil, 2 half gallons of milk, 1, 2, 2 packages of the long grain brown rice, there's the other one, and then 5 bananas. So it's important to keep in mind that when I was doing this meal plan, I made sacrifices in terms of some of the food that I wanted, as well as the brands. So, you know, for the tuna sandwiches that are gonna be in this meal plan, they're not gonna have relish. Why? It wasn't really essential, and it cut costs. If you're trying to pull back on the cost, start looking at some of the off-brand foods. A lot of times they're very, very comparable, almost identical. So look at that and you can save money there. Okay, so now that we have all the food, let's look at what we're gonna need to actually prep the food. The cooking utensils. So we have a scale. I strongly recommend getting a scale. If you don't have one and you're just trying to eyeball it, it's okay, but honestly, like I said, I really started making progress when I knew exactly what I was eating and I was weighing my food out. So again, I strongly recommend the scale, the food scale. I have a rice cooker, again, also very helpful. I have containers to package. I have a baking dish. And then I have cooking pots, 3 of them. Then I have a cooking skillet for the turkey. You're also going to need a knife. Doesn't have to be this big, but, and you're also gonna need a strainer. So that is all of the cooking utensils. Now, let's get to cooking. We are going to start this prep off with the chicken. So what I always do first is rinse the chicken off. So place the chicken into a strainer and you're gonna run some water over it to get the filmy or slimy coating off of the chicken. There's always a little coating on there. I rinse it to get it off. Then I'll wash my hands. You will do that several times throughout your prep. Then you want to get a pan and some tin foil. Place the tin foil into the pan and make sure it forms around all of the corners like so. Then get your cutting board, place a piece of chicken onto the cutting board and proceed to cut off any of the excess fat. When cutting off that excess fat, you may end up cutting off a little bit of the chicken, but that's fine. Don't really worry about it. Just try to do your best at minimizing the amount of actual chicken you cut off. So just do your best. Then after you have cut off all the excess fat, I always cut the chicken down the middle and then you're going to want to place it in the baking pan. Why I cut it down the middle? Because I like it to cook a little bit faster. If you leave them whole, it's going to take a little bit longer to cook, but you can certainly do it. I know people that do it that way. There's nothing wrong with it, so if you'd like to go that route, by all means, go for it. Once you're done trimming all the fat off the chicken, you're going to have something that looks like this. Then you want to take your extra virgin olive oil and add it to your chicken. Then you'll want to add your Frank's Red Hot seasoning and apply it generously, but make sure you leave enough for the ground turkey as well as other meals throughout the week. Once you're done, it'll look like this. And then you want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. And as the oven is preheating, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the rice. I'll be preparing rice two different ways. One, with the rice cooker. So you'll take your bag of rice and place it into the rice cooker and then add your water. The rice cooker I'm using has a line that says max on the inside of it, and I just filled it up all the way to that. Then I placed it into the rice cooker, put the lid on it, plug it in, push it down, and it begins cooking. The second way to prepare rice is with a cooking pot. So just rip open the rice, dump it all into the medium cooking pot, and then add 5 cups of water. And using this method, the rice will take about 15 to 20 minutes to fully cook. Then you'll want to place the rice on your stove and turn it to a medium-high heat. And then you'll want to put a lid on it as well. And now that the rice is going, it's time to start the ground turkey. I'm going to start cooking the turkey on a medium-high heat, and then I'll increase the heat a little bit later. Then grab your extra virgin olive oil and add about 2 tablespoons to your cooking skillet. Then grab your ground turkey and cut each of them open and dump them into the cooking skillet. Make sure you remove the little paper film on the bottom. You do not want to cook with that. That's not going to taste very good. Then after all the ground turkey has been added, you'll want to grab a spatula and just chop it up or mix it all together. It's going to help it cook a little bit more evenly. You can add salt as well as pepper for additional seasoning. I would personally recommend it. Then place a lid on it. Now that the oven is preheated to 425 degrees, we can place the chicken into the oven and set the timer for 25 minutes. While the chicken is cooking, it's time to go back and check on the ground turkey. So I'm just going to mix it around again to ensure that it is cooking evenly. Then I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit, place the lid back on, and move on to the broccoli. You're going to want to start by opening each broccoli package and dumping it into a large cooking pot. Once you've added all the broccoli to the pot, you're going to want to add water until the broccoli is fully submerged. Once you've done that, you'll want to place the broccoli on the stove and turn it to a high heat. Or I guess technically it could be considered a medium-high heat. But then I'm going to mix around the rice to make sure that it's all cooking evenly, place the lid back on it. Then I'm going to check on the ground turkey to make sure it is cooking evenly. I do this several times throughout my prep because it's easy to forget about something, whether it's the rice and it gets mushy or the ground turkey gets burnt because I don't mix it. It's just a good tip. Then you want to grab your Frank's Red Hot seasoning and add it to the ground turkey for additional seasoning. You will also want to make sure that you add a lid to the broccoli. And now the ground turkey's done. How do I know? Because there's no more red. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the stove off. Then I want to go check on the rice in the rice cooker. Again, it's just something I periodically do and recommend doing. Now with about 10 minutes left, I will check on the chicken. So I basically just take a fork and I flip all of the pieces of chicken as well as just to kind of check how they're cooking and make sure nothing is getting overcooked. Now going back to the rice because it should be done. So I'm doing a final check to make sure it's the consistency that I like. And it's boiling a little bit, which is fine. And then I'm gonna shut it off, place the lid, and move on to the other rice in the rice cooker. I'm checking it as well. It is done, so unplug it, put the lid back on, it's good to go. And it's perfect timing because the chicken is just finishing up. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the chicken, and then what I always do, guys, is cut into several pieces of the chicken to make sure that it is fully cooked. You don't want to be eating undercooked chicken. When you cut the chicken open, there shouldn't be any pink. It should be all white. Now that the rice has had a few minutes to cool, we can start packaging it up. So we're gonna start with a cup of rice in 5 containers. So this meal is going to be 1 cup and 1/3 of rice with 8 ounces of ground turkey and 1.5 cups to 2 cups of broccoli. So again, we're starting with the rice though. Once you have a cup of rice added to each meal, add 1/3 of a cup to each container as well. Once all of the rice has been added, it's time to add the 8 ounces of ground turkey. So I'm going to start off by weighing it. If you have an electronic scale, that'll work as well. And if you don't have a scale, I strongly recommend getting one. I suppose you could eyeball it, but you're not gonna know for sure if you're getting 8 ounces in each meal. This way, I know I'm getting 8 ounces in each meal. So again, it's very helpful to have the scale if you can get one. Once all the ground turkey has been added, here is a shot of the meal. Keep in mind the broccoli isn't shown. That's because it wouldn't fit in this container. It's going to be packaged in its own separate containers. Moving on to the next meal, which is actually dinner or the post-workout meal, it's going to be another cup and 1/3 of rice. So I'm going to start off by adding 1 cup of rice to each container. Then I will add 1/3 of a cup of rice to each container. Once all the rice has been added, I'm going to start weighing out 8 ounces of chicken. Again, this is where the scale is very, very helpful in knowing exactly how many ounces of chicken I'm going to get in each meal. You can eyeball it, but you can't guarantee when you're eyeballing it that it's going to be 8 ounces of chicken. This way, I know it's 8 ounces. And I'm just going to put it in each container and repeat that process for the other 4 meals. And here's a shot of this meal. Again, the broccoli is not included because it wouldn't fit in the container. It's going to be added to its own container. Speaking of the broccoli, after it's cooked for about 15 to 20 minutes, you can go ahead and shut it off and then head over to the sink so you can drain out the water. After you drained out all the water, you're going to want to take a slotted spoon and begin putting the broccoli into your containers. Mine fit into 3 containers, but depending on the size of your containers, it might take more of them, it might take less of them. But again, you just want to place all the broccoli into separate containers. Then when it's time to eat,
I'll just measure out as needed. Moving on to the eggs, you're going to want to place 24 eggs into a large cooking pot. And this is also the last thing that needs to be prepped. After all the eggs are in the cooking pot, you're going to want to fill the cooking pot with water until all the eggs are fully submerged, with at least an inch of water at the top. You can always go over that though. Then you want to head over to the stove and turn the stove to a high to medium high heat. Place a lid on it. Once the water begins to boil, really boil, not just a few bubbles here and there. Once it starts to really boil, you can turn the stove to a low heat and cook for an additional 15 minutes. After it's cooked for 15 minutes, you want to drain out the water. Then after you've drained out all the water, you want to add cool water to the pot, just enough to cover the eggs. Then you want to add a bunch of ice to chill the eggs, which is going to make them easier to crack. And after all the ice has melted, after about 10-15 minutes, you want to start to peel the eggs. Now I use the cup trick, which basically you get a small cup, you put some water in it, you grab the egg, you put the egg in the cup, and you shake it. It makes it much easier to peel the egg. You can do it the old-fashioned way if you like, but this way is much easier. I'll put a link in the description to the video that I watched to learn how to do this, because I didn't know how to do it. I watched some other person's YouTube video and learned how to do this. So again, there'll be a link in the description to check out that person's video. But once these are all done, I'm just going to place them into a large container, or again, multiple containers, and then that's it. And here's just a quick shot of all the meals and food that I had to prep. Alright guys, now remember, this was only 2 of the meals that you had to actually cook and package. There are many other meals that you're going to eat throughout the day, but you don't have to prep them. You can make them the day of. So be sure to check out part 3, which is time to eat, because that video is going to go over when to eat all the meals, how to prepare the meals that weren't prepared today or in the prep and pack video, and also break down all the protein, carbs, and fats for each meal. Also, don't forget, if you want a printout of this full meal plan, check out the link in the description. As always, let me know what you guys thought about this video. It's how I make these videos better. If I don't get feedback, if I don't get comments, I can't improve these videos for you guys. So again, all of it's helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. And that's all I have. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.